Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. The hum of a lab full of secrets flickers like a low whisper in the background, and in the heart of it we find the dynamic, tangled world of Port Charles. At its center, Professor Henry Hank Dalton, the brilliant but beleaguered PCU researcher. On one side stands Dr. Britt Westbourne, sharp, ambitious, determined for a fresh start. And watching over them both is Jen Sidwell, a player whose gaze holds far more than a benign interest in medical advances. The whispers we're hearing portend a major shakeup. Sidwell is poised to replace Dalton with Britt. But why? And what does this mean for the loyalties of everyone involved? Dalton has long held the lab's reins, the lead researcher at the PCU. His credentials are solid, his work recognized. But over time the edges of his role have frayed. We're told that enthusiasm wanes, that hospital colleagues and friends treat his return with cold caution. The lab's lighting isn't as bright as it once was, the ambition not quite what it used to be. Enter Britt. She wants a new chapter in Port Charles. The return hasn't been easy, mentors skeptical, peers indifferent, and for someone used to making waves, it's been quiet. That gap between the person she wants to be and the person she finds herself having to perform may well be the opening Sidwell needs. Sidwell moves quietly. There's no dramatic fanfare. Instead he watches, he waits. And then he acts. The move. Remove Dalton from his post. Elevate Britt into his place. The question is, does Britt step in willingly, or is she forced? There's evidence suggesting that money isn't the only motivator for her research at the Five Poppies Resort and beyond. Medication, she claims. But the backstories we're hearing hint at more. There's a mysterious C who left meds in an apartment above Bobby's. Possibly this C is none other than the terrifying Caesar Faison. Or perhaps someone with enough of Caesar's memory or brain to act in his stead. Either way, the connection draws a line from the hospital lab to illicit research decks that stretch far beyond the good name of the PCU. So, what happens when the PCU professor is replaced? For Dalton, it may mean the sudden loss of his lab, his position. For Britt, a powerful opportunity. But opportunity often carries a tremor of risk. She may not want to dive into the research that Dalton has overseen. Yet, if she refuses, what then? Blackmail is whispered. Threats wrapped in secrecy. Sidwell isn't known for a conscience. If someone stands in his way, he quietly eliminates them. Judge Eva Heron, for one, followed orders, even when those orders cost her life. So the stage is set. Britt will step in. Dalton will step out. The question, will Brooke accept? Will she rebel? And will Dalton accept quietly, or fight back? Here's where the deeper game begins. The World Security Bureau, WSB, is lurking in the shadows. They're sniffing out illegal research. They're aware of someone in the hospital labs doing something outside the rules. Dalton holds knowledge, insider access, credentials, maybe even the first drops of suspicion. If he's ousted just before he can speak, the WSB loses a possible ally. If he flips, he becomes a threat to those he worked for. For Sidwell, Dalton is expendable. If he leaks, he must be silenced. The rumble is tightening. Let's explore Dalton's predicament. He knows things. He's seen files. He's witnessed odd experiments. Maybe he knows this C investor, maybe not by name but by influence. He's watched Britt's trajectory. He's felt the lab shift. He senses the ropes pulling. Now, he might offer information to the WSB. He might promise to reveal the person at the center of this research. But just as he prepares to act, the boot drops. He's removed from his place, sidelined, no longer in the main corridor of the research. If that were all, it might be the end of the shift. But in this world, you don't just step away, you vanish. As Britt takes his seat, the lab changes. The protocols get tighter. The projects become more secret. The funds more opaque. Beneath the ordinary uniforms, clandestine agendas ripple. Britt must decide. Does she embrace the role and play by the rules, or does she push back, dig in her heels, ask questions? And if she does Sidwell allow it? Sidwell has already shown zero mercy to threats. So the pressure builds. For the WSB, this is ideal. They're looking for a breach. They see someone displaced. Someone new in. A man forced out. These are signals. Dalton becomes the loose thread. If they pull him, they pull a piece of the tapestry. But they must act quickly. The lab could shift again. Britt could grow suspicious. Sidwell might move her into a deeper role, keeping eyes away from the lab. Or worse, turn Britt into a traitor of sorts, the official face of the research, but using her to serve the hidden agenda. Who is the hidden agenda? We're told about Investor C. Could be Caesar, could be someone exploiting his legacy. Could be someone using brain implants, memory transfers, identity work. The hospital becomes more than a healing place, it becomes a lab of deeper experiments. And the line between medicine and manipulation blurs. Britt is high stakes now. Her ambition, her return, gives Sidwell leverage. She may be grateful for the opportunity. She may feel honored. But under the surface, the cost of that seat is high. She must deliver. She must comply. She must not ask too many questions. Sidwell holds her career in his hands. If she steps out of line, her downfall could be swift. Meanwhile, Dalton watches. Perhaps he lingers in the corridor, footage of his last project still on the screens. He puts two and two together. He senses he's been replaced for a reason, not simply for age or ambition but for secrecy. He asks, what is the research really about? Who funds it? Who owns the data? More importantly, is he next on the chopping block? For the WSB, they might use Dalton as a mole. They might ask him to feed information. That puts him in the crosshairs. Sidwell knows this. If Dalton leaks, he dies or disappears. The game is high stakes. And Britt? She's walking into a trap. Either she becomes the frontwoman for illegal research without knowing it, or she refuses and becomes a target. The question, will she fall for the offered role, or will she sample the poison beneath? Now let's talk about the emotional side. Britt came back seeking redemption. Seeking a fresh start. But this isn't the fresh start she expected. It's more complex, darker. She may start believing she's doing good. After all, research, medicine, saving lives. But when payment comes from an unknown sea, when labs vanish into secret wings, when a man she knows is kicked out and silenced, her conscience might kick in. She may wonder, am I part of healing, or am I part of betrayal? May be torn. He built his career on transparency, on clinical research, on trust. Being removed shakes him. It might awaken a fighter. He might go underground. He might become the WSB's ally. But that path holds no guarantee of safety. He becomes a pawn and a threat. Sidwell has no tolerance for loose cards. He'll play until there are no surprises. For this to work, Britt must not realize the full extent of what she steps into until it's too late. So picture the lab at night. Britt alone, reading files, making notes. The hum of machines, the faint drip of IVs. The door clicks shut, the corridor dark. Sidwell's figure appears, informal, authoritative. He congratulates her, but in his eyes there's a flash of something cold. She smiles politely, but her mind races. She glances at Dalton's nameplate beside an empty desk. She remembers his presence, his ideas. She realizes the magnitude of what she's inherited, and in that moment, she senses the shift. She's not just replacing him, she's stepping into something much larger. The moral stakes rise. Whose interests are truly being served? The patients? The universities? Or some clandestine investor pulling strings? When the WSB comes knocking, if they do, will Britt be ready to face them? Or will she dance in Sidwell's tune until the music stops? For viewers of Port Charles, this is a roller coaster. A respected professor replaced, a returning doctor thrust into leadership, and the pungent question of betrayal. Will Dalton turn world security informant? Will Britt rise and redeem herself, or fall into complicity? Will Sidwell succeed in swapping the pieces on the board without anyone noticing? And all the while the WSB watches. We know Dalton's exit might not just be a job change. He might vanish, or worse. November sweeps loom. The writers may choose the dramatic option. His abrupt removal could lead to shock. His death? Not out of the question. Sidwell's track record shows he has no problem eliminating threats. One moment Dalton is in, the next he's gone. And Britt sits in his chair, unaware of how deep the waters go. But Britt is not helpless. She has survived before. She's smart. She may pick up on the signs. She may notice Sidwell's involvement with Valentine or others we haven't even fully seen yet. She might uncover the link back to C and the illicit funding. And then the game flips. She becomes the traitor, to Sidwell, to the illegitimate investors, or to her own conscience. She might feed the WSB information. That would be the ultimate twist. She takes the top seat only to turn it into a trap for those who placed her there. Meanwhile, Dalton's role shifts from leader to potential whistleblower. He may discover the research isn't just about medicine. It's about control. He may find data manipulated, experiments unethical, patients used as testbeds. He may seek allies. He may approach the WSB. Once that happens, the game changes from internal power shift to full-scale espionage. Sidwell's motivation is key. He isn't just swapping one face for another. He's suppressing exposure. He wants someone malleable, someone he can shape. Britt fits. And so he orchestrates the removal of Dalton. The question, was it purely strategic? Or was it forced because Dalton got too close? Either way, the narrative pushes toward one inevitable conclusion. The stakes are much greater than a lab position. For the regular viewers, this arc offers more than intrigue. It offers character evolution. Britt, who may have returned for reasons of pride or redemption, now must decide. Is she a scientist or a pawn? Dalton, once secure in his role, now stands on the precipice. Sidwell, once a shadow actor, may become the one pulling all strings. And the WSB? They may be the only ones with enough leverage to expose the deception, but only if they act fast. The suspense builds. Will Britt blow the whistle? Will Dalton vanish before he can speak? Will Sidwell secure his research and bury any threat? Will the WSB burst in and bring the illegal work to light? The answer lies in timing, deception, and legacy. The lab may look the same on the surface. Same machines, same corridors, but the power under the hood is shifting. As the episodes roll out, keep your eyes on the small things. Britt's hesitation when she signs the new contract. Dalton's furtive glances over his shoulder. Sidwell's brief visit late at night. The whispered C investor whose name nobody mentions, but everyone fears. The WSB file that appears, then disappears. These are breadcrumbs. And when all are gathered, they point back to one truth. This isn't just about a replacement. It's about who controls the research, who controls the data, who controls the people. In sum, the replacement of Dalton by Britt under Sidwell's supervision sets off a chain reaction. A lab becomes a battleground. A professor becomes a potential traitor. A doctor becomes a frontwoman. And an international agency lurks outside, ready to pounce. What began as an internal personnel change morphs into high-stakes espionage with lives, reputations, and possibly deaths on the line. So when you next watch the doors open at the PCU's research wing and see Britt step into Dalton's office, the chair she sits on once held a man named Dalton. The files she opens once belonged to his team. The person who signed her contract once approved Dalton's salary. And the man who signed his dismissal is Sidwell. In that moment, the tilt shifts. The undercurrent rises. And the game changes. In the end, audience, what we're witnessing is not only a storyline. It's a metaphor for power and betrayal, ambition and morality. Britt's new role may give her prestige, but it also gives her peril. Dalton's exit may seem like defeat, but perhaps it's his awakening. And Sidwell? He's the puppet master who may pull one wrong string and bring the entire edifice crashing down. So turn on your set, lean in, and watch closely. The lab lights may glow softly, but the darkness behind them is growing. The question isn't just who replaces whom, but who will survive when the research goes public, when the WSB enters the fray, when the secrets finally break free. And when they do, one thing becomes clear. Sometimes the biggest betrayal isn't from the known bad guy, but from the friend you trusted, the colleague you admired, the institution you thought was safe. Keep watching because in Port Charles, things rarely stay stable. A chair is vacated. A new one filled. A deal struck in shadows. And all of it leads to an explosion that no one sees coming, least of all the ones sitting in the chair. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for all of your updates.